What is going on, pirate crew? It's M. Cujo here. I recently went to my locals store treasure cup, and I actually ended up winning, coming in first place with Edward Newgate. Alright guys, so let's go over the deck profile. Starting off with the leader, we have Edward Newgate. Edward Newgate is an OP02 leader with 6 life and 6,000 power. The leader effect states, end of your turn, add 1 card from the top of your life cards to your hand. So basically you're going to be losing life every single turn, but the upside to this is you're going to have a huge card advantage over your opponent, which is the main appeal, I think, to playing Newgate. Let's go ahead and start going over the individual cards now. Starting off with OP01 Nami. This is my searcher for the deck. It allows me to search for my Straw Hat Crew type cards. Next card we have is Tony Chopper. This is a cheap blocker for 1 Dawn. Comes in really useful. Sometimes people don't have an answer to this if they don't have KO effects in their deck. Next card we have is Sanji, just a 2k counter for Straw Hat Pirates. Since we are running Nami, we want most of our cards to be Straw Hat focused. It has a decent effect. Sometimes if you don't have anything else, you could play this and rip a life and then swing 7. Doesn't come up too often, but again, it's a 2k counter. Next we have another Sanji, 2k counter as well. This one allows one of your Straw Hat characters to be unblockable for the turn. Works really well with Rush, Dream Luffy, or even Zoro. And you can even give it to this Sanji, which, by the way, here's our 3rd Sanji. This one is Sanji in Nami's body. This one's our perfect curve right here for going first. We go search Nami into 3-cost Sanji. I like this card because it's basically a 6k stat attacker, because on your turn it gains 3,000 power. And then when my opponent decides to KO it, either by swinging or KO effects, I will be able to draw 1 card, which just helps me get a bigger hand advantage. Next card is a Tony Chopper, a 2k counter, blocker. During my opponent's turn it gains 2,000 power, so it's a 4/6 blocker. Next card we have is Roanoa Zoro. Roanoa Zoro is a 4-cost 5,000 power. Dawn attached to it gains rush, and then on KO I can play up to 1 red character with a 6k power or less other than Zoro from my hand. I like Zoro because if I don't see my other rush cards, this has a potential to be, 6 Dawn 7k rusher. And with this deck list, the whole idea is to rush out my opponent every single turn, so I can't really afford to have a turn where I'm not hitting them with a rush card. It's not, the most ideal card to play on curve, but it is a 4 Dawn play available to me if I don't have Sanji in hand, or Searchers or Choppers. So that's why we like Zoro, and it also has a 1k counter, which is really useful. Next we have the Monkey D. Luffy from Star Deck 1, the unblockable Rush Luffy. I like to search for this with Nami. If I play out my Nami searcher and I see this in my top 5, I'd definitely pick this over most of the cards, unless I'm trying to search for my perfect curve, which would be Nami into Sanji into Dream Luffy. But definitely I try to hold on to one of these, because this is my win condition. Once I get my opponent down to 0, I just play unblockable Luffy and just take game. The next card is Porcus D Ace, another 5/6 rush card. If my leader is a Whitebeard Pirates type, it gains rush. This is why I really enjoyed playing Newgate. I had a playset of these from the starter deck, Edward Newgate, and since then, I've mostly been playing other red decks like S21, Gear 5 Luffy, Red Hair Shanks, and a lot of these other red leaders you can't really utilize the rush part of this effect, which I feel is the most important part. It does have a secondary effect that once per turn, if it would be removed from the field by any effects, you can instead give it minus 2000 power. That's pretty nice. Into any Blackbeard matchups or black in general, if I have any of these 4 rushers in hand and I'm going to a black deck that has heavy removal, I tend to play this ace first just to see if they try to pop it, and if they don't pop it at all, I'll just defend it heavy with my 2Ks and events, and then on the next turn I'll play out a different rusher, which allows me to sneak in more attacks this way, as long as this survives. And this brings us into our 4th rush card, Monkey D. Luffy, the 5/6 rush Dream Luffy. When attacking, give up to 1 Rested Dawn card to your leader or one of your characters. This is probably the best card in the entire deck. When it comes to my searches with Nami, I prioritize this Luffy over everything else. The more of these you see, the higher percent chance that you've won the game. Most of my wins, I usually see like 3 to 4 of these. This would be the #1 card I'd search for. So the next card in the lineup is Monkey D. Dragon. Dragon's a little awkward in the deck, I won't lie. Being 8 Dawn is kind of expensive for us, since we try to, by the time we reach 8 or 9 Dawn, we're kind of low on life, and the enemy has the potential to go for lethal. Usually by then we're usually at 2 or 1 lives. So I try to keep some events up, like Guard Point and Rad Beam. I mostly just use Dragon on 10 Dawn turn, when I already have a field full of Rush Luffys and Aces that they were not able to destroy. Then I'll play out Monkey D. Dragon when I know that I can end game, and it just really helps just finish the job. It has Rush, and it gives 2 Rested Dawn to my leader or character, so I'll usually give it to my leader, and I'd swing, 8 with lead, 9 with this, and then the other 2 Dawn will either be left for Guard Point or attached to the other characters to just help me get closer to lethal. Then we follow up with our event package. We're going to run 4 Radical Beams. This is the best defensive event we have in red. It works very similarly to Gum Gum Giant, which is one of the best cards in the game. Fortunately, we're actually fair because we don't draw 2 when we use this card. But regardless, just the 1 Dawn up plus 4 K power helps a lot. Usually your opponent's just trying to go in for lethal. Will try to stack all their Dawn and try to kill you while you're at 0, and then usually you should have at least 3 events, probably 2 Rad Beams, a Guard Point, or maybe even a Bad Manners, and like a handful of 2Ks. NEWGATE is a really defensive leader, being 6K statted, and if you're taking your lives all game and not wasting it on countering out any attacks, you'll have a huge hand size, and you'll definitely have everything you need to survive a lethal attack. And at that point, your opponent exhausts all of their resources to try and kill you, and when they fail at that, you're able to win the game on the clapback 9 out of 10 times. Guard Point does the exact same thing as Rad Beam, except it's only 3K instead of 4K, which is fine though. You know, as long as we have some events, the rest will be 2Ks and 1Ks. The Radical Beam is for the late game, since you have to have 2 or less life, whereas Guard Point, I can use this early on, from early to mid game, to keep my 5 cost units alive. The game plan for this deck is usually just take every single attack my opponent throws at me. I'm not scared to go to 0 life, so going to 0 life does not scare me at all. I'm just trying to get those cards in my hand, so I can protect these units, because this is the game plan, right? We keep these alive and we just keep applying pressure. So I'll usually just ditch guard points to protect these cards. Some people asked why not use Divine Departure. Divine Departure is nice, but it's not searchable through Nami, and Divine Departure only gives your leader 3k, while guard point gives your characters 3k, which I think is more important to keep board advantage. And 2 copies of Bad Manners Kick Course is always great for any red deck, allowing you to ditch any bricks you might have. I don't run too many bricks in this list, but it still helps my consistency. Let's say I have a dragon in hand and I don't need it. I can just ditch it with Bad Manners. Bad Manners can ditch itself if I have 2 copies. And if I have, let's say, only 3 Dawn up, but I have 4 events in my hand, you know, I'll use the 3 Dawn to use maybe 3 Rad Beams, and then the 4th Rad Beam, you know, I can just ditch it with a Bad Manners. So yeah, that's the deck profile. I'm gonna go ahead and go over some key plays here. So I mentioned a little earlier that the style that I play is we aggressively take all of our life cards. So whenever the opponent will swing 6 at me, I'll just take it. They swing 6, I'll take it. And all these cards that I gain, I'll keep them in hand to just defend my board. The ideal curve going first is playing Nami. We have a Nami searcher to search for our Straw Hat Crew, pirates, and our events. And it can also search out a Chopper. Chopper is also a good turn 1 play. On turn 2 going first, we will play out the Sanji. We play out the Sanji because on turn 3, we're going to play out the Monkey D. Luffy, which allows us to start with a 6k attack, 6k attack with leader, and then 5 Dawn, play out Dream Luffy, and then swing 7k at life. If you don't see this Dream Luffy, we do have other options. You could do swings on the 3rd turn with 5 Dawn. You can just swing 6 with Sanji, 6 with leader, and then you can either play out Ace or Luffy for another 6k attack. And those first 3 turns give you a huge momentum boost, going Dawn 1, Dawn 3, and then on Dawn 5, you're seeing 6, 6, 6, or 6, 6, 7, and it really just destroys your opponent's hand or destroys their life. Going on 7 Dawn turn, you're kind of free to do whatever you like, but what I prefer to do is to play out another Rush Luffy for 5. So I can swing 6, 6, 7, and then another Dream Luffy for 7 again, leaving 2 Dawn up to play either a Chopper blocker, a Search Nami, and then leave 1 or 2 up for guard point, depending on, you know, which of these 3 cards you might see. Then on the 9 Dawn turn, you know, it's just rinse and repeat. You're just playing out rush cards, playing out blockers, leaving up guard points and rad beams up. You know, try to hold on with this Luffy until you get them to 0 life. If your opponent decides to wall up, then you've basically just won the game. You just play rush Luffy, unblockable, and that's it. It's a pretty straightforward deck, super aggressive. It leaves it to where your opponent doesn't have time to, you know, build their board. They have to play kind of defensively, which is really good for us. A lot of decks in the format can't really handle it. When it comes to Blackbeard, he really can't handle it. Being able to rush him every single turn, you usually end the game before they hit 10 Dawn, and it's a really fun matchup for us because they may trash cards from their hand to negate all of our on plays, but if you haven't noticed, the only on play that we actually play is the Searcher. Everything else is when attacking or KO or just straight up rush cards, right? Except for Monkey D. Dragon, I suppose, but if that happens, I would just not play this. I would just play another 5-cost Luffy and just go super wide with my attacks. Into Shanks, this also does well because my leader is 6k, so I'm always swinging 6s at Shanks. If you didn't know, Shanks, if you swing 6, they always have to ditch a card, even if they leader effect. And the fact that all of our characters are 6k attackers, Sanji, Luffy, Ace, Luffy, we're just hitting for multiple 6s, and we're pretty fast to the point where we can rush them down really quickly before they could even reach their 10 drop play. The other matchup we do pretty good into is green purple Luffy. It's not one-sided, but I feel it's pretty even, maybe slightly favored into GP. But with a good matchup into Shanks and Blackbeard, I felt like playing this leader was a pretty good fit, because going 50-50 into the number 1 deck and then defeating the deck number 2 and deck number 3, I essentially checked all the boxes for the top 3 meta leaders. Alright guys, so that's going to be my deck profile that won me the store treasure cup at my locals. Thank you guys for watching, and if you could please leave a like, comment, and subscribe.